Hello, my name is Henry Pond, and for my project, I will be working on melting glaciers in Alaska, specifically the Mendenhall Glacier by Junai. And during this presentation, I'm going to talk about how this is important to me, how I will interact with this issue and create a positive change, and I will cover some elements that will better explain my project. Um, to start, I'm interested in this problem because all of the glaciers in Alaska are receding at one of the fastest rates on the planet, and the temperature just keeps rising, and human activities are making this much worse. Um, Moving on to the next slide, there is evidence of receding at the Mendenhall Glacier. As you can see here in these photos, one was in 1986, one was in 2012, and between that time, the glaciers receded about a mile, which is a huge difference. And this is contributing to sea level rise, and it's all because of things like deforestation and fossil fuels. I would like to propose a couple solutions to this problem. One of them being monitoring the Mendenhall Glacier with cameras and setting them to time lapse to record the melting process or the receding of the glaciers. And we can also use satellite imagery and drones to get different angles and better map out the glacier to gather evidence supporting our hypothesis. And my hypothesis is that this strategy will more than likely produce results that support climate change having a real effect on glaciers. And some other things it would support would be already made predictions from other scientists, and it would give evidence that could potentially change policies within the government to better protect these glaciers from melting. And another reason I'm interested in this and why it's important to me is because this is a location visited by tourists, and in general, it's just a very cool, beautiful glacier that you're collecting these images that are almost like art, they're photography, but they're also data towards my claim. And the second solution I'm proposing is involving communities in educating the public through social media and just popular websites and spreading awareness to a larger audience. And I would use things like Instagram and YouTube preferably. And I think it would spread awareness to younger generations that will hopefully grow up wanting to protect our planet and glaciers, which do play a crucial role to the environment. And I can become a part of the solution by planning a 2-week trip to the Mendenhall Glacier and taking action with the solutions I mentioned. And I would do this through a $1 million budget that I'll go over later. But during this trip, first off, I would install my equipment like cameras and use the GPS locations to map out the glacier. And then after that, I will create community workshops, maybe things like adventuring out to the glaciers and collecting the new images from the cameras off the hard drives, or even like taking samples of the ice core to see how global warming is affecting these glaciers. And let's see. During the community workshops, we'll talk about things like carbon output and science behind this. And after these workshops, I would like to create a exhibit at the visitor center, including the images we record and the data proving that global warming is having an effect and the glacier is indeed receding. And while I'm doing all this, I think it'll make great content if we hire like a videographer and a social media manager to really try and get this out there to those younger generations and spread it online across the world. And all of this sounds really great and really awesome. It seems like it'll work, but there are challenges that I will have to face during this 2 week trip. And some that I thought of are just simply the harsh environment around the glaciers. You're working on freezing cold ice, freezing temperatures, and your cameras can freeze, equipment can break. You're going to need extra expensive to fix these problems. And then also, even through all of our efforts, it's possible that the government simply overlooks this issue because they think melting glaciers aren't capable of breaking their normal daily routine. And they don't want to invest money into things that aren't going to have a return or extreme benefits. But there are big companies that use these glaciers for things like water, which is very important for everyone's survival, is just getting water, fresh water. And uh, yeah, with the budget of $1 million, you do need to put a lot of money into like personnel and guides and scientists and videographers, like I was talking about. And you'll also need the cameras, the GPS technology, laptops, hard drives to recover these images and data. And you're gonna have to spend money on travel permits, housing, and educating the public through workshops and visiting local high schools to spread awareness. And in conclusion, I personally care for this problem because I do like the outdoors and I like visiting national parks and just seeing the environment. And it always gives me a sense of grief when you visit these places and you hear about all the negative effects of our current world taking place in these national parks, like the glaciers melting. And I hope that through these efforts, we can really make a difference because we'll need to do it one day in the future. And that's why I specifically want to target these younger generations. And thanks for listening to my presentation.